being a physicist, ecologist, activist, ecofeminist, and author of several books, Dr. Shiva stands out as one of the planet's best protectors of our environment. She's spent her lifetime understanding ecology and standing up for the forces that work hard to disrupt the natural harmony in society and on planet Earth. Dr. Shiva is the founder of the Navdanya, a movement for biodiversity conservation and farmers' rights. She is also the founder and director of the Research Foundation for Science, Technology, and Natural Resource Policy. Our global Occupy movement has formed from the realization and understanding that corporate interests have become more powerful than the interests of the people. Dr. Shiva works tirelessly to bring down that exact system and return the power to the people and to the planet. Her focus is food systems, humans' greatest connection to the planet, and we must recognize this as one of the most important aspects in our struggle for balance and equality on life. So please welcome Dr. Vandana Shiva, folks, to the stage.
Worldful Day to all of you. I've been told by everyone, my doctors, my family, my friends, that I should not be traveling. But how could I not join you for this very important celebration of our freedom? Because while we have the Occupy movement all over the place, recognizing how corporations are stealing our world, stealing the gifts of nature, stealing the gifts of our labor. It's the GMO-free movement that has understood how one corporation, Monsanto, is doing this. It has spread a culture of bad food, and it's robbing us of good food. It has spread a culture of trying to own seeds when it can't create the seed. It can only steal the seed. It can contaminate the seed. And when someone pollutes, they shouldn't be rewarded with intellectual property rights. They should be sued for making our food toxic. And that's why I'm so glad Percy is here, who has stood as a witness of the perversion of the patenting in Monsanto's hand. And he will tell you his story. But I think most importantly, this movement, our movement, your movement, is standing for real freedom and real democracy. Because if we aren't even free to decide what we'll eat, what we'll grow, to know what's in our food, how are we free in any other way? Because it's our food that shapes every cell of our body, every bit of our organs, and at least the elder women in my country say it shapes our thinking too. You eat bad food, you have bad thinking. You eat good food, your mind works fresh, creative, beautiful. Now, the denial for labeling is linked so much to the food dictatorship that Monsanto has spread. And I feel terrible that a White House with Obama is doing exactly the same thing as the White House with Bush Sr. and the White House with Bush Jr. I've just been given this wonderful t-shirt which reminds us of what President Obama said in 2007. It's from Food Democracy Now! Here's what I'll do as president. We let folks know whether their food has been genetically modified, because Americans should know what they are buying. And I would add what they're eating, because you don't just buy food, you eat it. He should be held to his promise. That's why he was voted to come. Now, the argument that supports the denial of labeling was a lie created by President Bush Sr. when we managed to get the Convention on Biological Diversity through at the Earth Summit in '92, and we managed to get a biosafety protocol commitment under Article 19.3 of that convention. President Bush Sr. walked out and said, "I will not let my biotech industry be regulated." And the instrument for deregulation was a scientific lie called substantial equivalence. We will pretend GM foods are the same as organic foods and conventional foods. And therefore we will not look for safety, we will not allow regulation, and we will definitely not allow labeling. Substantial equivalence is a lie, because if the same company can claim that they've done something new and claim a patent, they can't deny that they've done something new when it's an issue of responsibility to citizens to let them know what's in that food. Whether they're antibiotic resistance markers, Bt toxin genes, viral promoters, we need to know. We have a right to know. Then another lie is it doesn't matter how food was produced. You should look at product and not at process. But we in the organic movement know it makes a difference how food is produced. That's why we have process labeling. And organic labels are there. But we also need to know what's not organic. And the moment food is genetically modified, it's not organic. The onus just can't be on the organic movement. It must be on the polluters, contaminators, and toxic drug pushers in our food system. When Europe introduced its labeling laws, the US Trade Secretary threatened. The cases were taken to the World Trade Organization. The European rules were called arbitrary, politicized, and scientifically unjustified. It's actually the denial of labeling that's arbitrary, because how can you deny labeling to genetic modification when you insist on labeling on how much calcium and sugar is in your food? If nutrition is a mandatory labeling, genetic modification must be mandatory labeling too. In any case, the threats the US has put against all our countries, I sued our government to ensure labeling. Our government, on the order of our Supreme Court, wrote a labeling law. The US Embassy put pressure and said, you can't do this, otherwise we'll introduce a trade war. They can't do that anymore, because on the 5th of July this year, 2011, the highest body for food safety, called Codex, which is the WTO recognized body, has said genetic modified foods labeling is fine, every country can do it, and no one can threaten them. So not only will labeling here give American citizens real freedom, it will also protect the rest of the world, and the rest of the world that is trying to shape its food democracy. We are at a very important historic moment, and that's why, in spite of my illness, I've traveled all this way. We are at a historic moment because the fraud of genetic engineering is known by more and more people now. We've just released a report. You can get it from the Navanya International website. It's called "The GMO Emperor Has No Clothes." First, they claimed they were going to feed the world, but their crops do not produce more yields. In India, they claimed 1,500 kilograms of cotton per acre. The average is 300 to 400, and we get that through organic. You don't have to contaminate your crops. They claim there'd be reduced chemical use. In fact, even till today, Monsanto will say this is an alternative to chemical agriculture. In India, because of Bt cotton, 13-fold increase in pesticides. In this country, 15% increase in herbicide. The only two pathetic applications Monsanto brought us in all these years: herbicide-resistant crops, Bt toxin crops. Both are about increasing toxics. One was supposed to control weeds, the other was supposed to control pests. What they've given us is super weeds, between 12 to 15 million acres of this country lost to farming because of weeds that now need Agent Orange to be sprayed. And in India and China, 12-fold increase in pests, new pests and resistant bollworm. So chemical use hasn't gone down. Instead of controlling weeds and pests, we have super weeds and super pests. And now they claim, oh, we will give you climate resilient crops to deal with climate change. No, they can't create climate resilience through genetic engineering. They just steal it from our farmers who've done this job so much better to generate salt-tolerant, flood-tolerant, and drought-tolerant seeds. And even Monsanto's drought-tolerant corn, the US technology assessment, showed that ordinary corn has better drought tolerance than Monsanto's corn. The most significant issue is genetic engineering is linked to patents. That's the only reason they're doing it. I happened to be at a meeting in '87 where the industry said, we need patents, and the only way we'll get patents on seed is by doing genetic engineering. There is no purpose genetic engineering serves except seed monopolies. But patents mean royalties. Royalties means extracting money from farmers. 8,000% increase in seed costs in cotton in India. Increase in pesticide use. The result has been debt. And the result has been 250,000 of our farmers committing suicides. No more farm suicides, no more food dictatorship, no more toxics in our food. We are here to commit ourselves to our food democracy, our food freedom, and the celebration of life on earth. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. And I just want to give special appreciation to Vandana, who's so amazing and doubly amazing for traveling all the way from India, though she's been unwell. So one more round of applause for the amazing Vandana Shiva. Thank you. So you may know our next speaker from her policy work alongside husband Congressman Dennis Kucinich. But as part of being a champion for peace, human rights, animals, and the environment, she is also a passionate advocate for organic food. Here to welcome us to DC and give us a sneak peek into the non-GMO film she is co-producing, please give it up for Elizabeth Kucinich. Welcome to DC, everybody. This is the home of your government. You belong here. Your voice belongs here. Your position belongs here. So welcome, everybody. It's such an honor to follow Vandana Shiva. She is the mother of this movement, and Dennis and I have such great respect for her. She has such a sacred heart. And it's really her heart and the hearts of all of us that are protecting these seeds, protecting life and the future of our country and our world. We have to make this movement work, which is why I've joined some incredible filmmakers, Jeremy Seifert and Josh Kunwa, who are going to be making with me a film on genetic modifications, because we want everybody to know about this. Now, it's great that all of us are together, but we need to make this 1 million strong, 2 million strong, 10 million strong. Everybody needs to know about the food that they're eating and what it's doing to themselves and the environment and the world. This is about social justice, economic justice, it's about health, it's about freedom, it's about liberty. So thank you for being here. Dennis, I'm afraid, is having to campaign back in Ohio, otherwise he would have liked to have joined me as well. And I want to let you know, if you don't know already, we want to make the voices really heard inside the walls of Congress and also inside the White House. Now, every single year or every single Congress, Dennis introduces 3 pieces of legislation, and they're all about GMOs. Now, we need more and more people to sign on to these legislation. So there's one which is called, and I hope you'll remember this, it's called the Right to Know. And it's about labeling. So hopefully when you get back, you will contact your members of Congress, get on the phone and ask them to be original co-sponsors, because that bill has not yet been introduced. We're looking at introducing it next week. But we want as many members of Congress to be signed on to that legislation before it comes into be introduced properly. So if you can make sure that you contact Congress, if you don't know how to do that. I was handed this piece of paper, What Now, after the Right to Know March, and it's got all the contact details of how you write to your contact person, to your congressperson and to your senators. So please make sure you do that. We need to make this movement one which engages with government. We can be angry, but we need to turn that into positive action. Now, my mother always taught me, always turn a negative thought into a positive action. You're here, that's an enormously positive action. Now we need to take it to the next step, so the Right to Know. There's 2 more pieces of legislation. One is called the Engineered Safety Act, and the other one is the Genetically Engineered Technology Farmer Protection Act. Now, I only expect you to remember the Right to Know, okay, the Right to Know Act, so please make sure that you get your members to do that. With respect to this GMO film, you know, Vandana Shiva is really the heart and the mother of this movement, but we have some amazing leaders around the world. Now, in Haiti, after the earthquake, Monsanto donated seeds to a country that was on its knees, and do you know what happened? 10,000 peasant farmers took to the streets and said, no, we do not want your seeds, and they burned them. So from this spark of fire from the hearts of the people of Haiti, who we would assume wouldn't know too much about the real impacts of corporate food supply, they know, and we need to know as well. So in this film, we're talking about 2 narratives. We're talking about the people of Haiti next to the people of the United States. And this is going to be a beautiful film. It's not going to be a documentary about talking heads. It's a film which is going to touch our hearts. And I really hope that you'll go to gmofilm.com and see how you can support this film and get the word out. And I thank you again for being here. Again, this is your city. It's time for our voices to be heard. Thank you.